Hey, so let me start with the most important news because this is urgent. A bill has passed the House that civil rights groups say would violate the rights of migrant children, allow, invasive searches of kids, and keep children detained longer instead of releasing them to family members. This is not humor, guys. This is not an exaggeration. This is what the ACLU is warning about right now. The bill is called HR 4371. If you're watching live, answer this right now and let me know. Tell me, should kids or children ever be treated like criminal suspects just for crossing the border? According to the ACLU and other civil rights organizations, this bill would weaken long-standing protections for accompanied immigrant children, kids who arrive in the U.S. without, any parent or guardian, which is very concerning right now because those protections exist for a simple reason. Children are vulnerable. They are vulnerable to abuse. They are vulnerable to trafficking. They are vulnerable to trauma. And this is something that you just can't take, for granted. But this bill moves in the opposite direction. The ACLU is saying that HR 4371 would actually allow, invasive bodily searches of children, supposedly to look for, gang indications. How are you going to find in children? I'm not sure, they may claim that these are maybe older children or whatever, but, sometimes we know that some children that are actually very, very, young, just, are even sent, through the border, and they don't even have any anyone with them. So they just come here not to commit any crime. They're just sent here. So there's many cases like that. But anyway, the thing is that ACLU is telling us that the HR 4371, listen to this, would allow invasive bodily searches of children, supposedly to look for gang indications or indicators, like, tattoos or marks, and would make it harder to release kids to relatives or sponsors, forcing more children into longer detention. So we have to pause here now for a second because, this doesn't even make any sense. Like, how can you make things even worse than what they are right now? Like right now, we know a lot of people are suffering with everything that's going on in the country, with ICE, DHS, all the things that are happening, things that are happening to families being separated, people being kidnapped, people being disappeared, people being sent to, third world countries and so on. And now Republicans have just passed a new bill in the House. This just passed the House, guys. Literally just passed the House. So let me tell you about this. We're talking about children right now. Not adults, not criminals, children. That is why civil rights groups are urgently asking people to pressure the Senate to stop this bill before it becomes law. Because once something like this passes, it doesn't stay limited. It becomes the new normal. Now, here's the key point. This bill does, not exist by itself. It fits into a pattern of cruelty we've been watching for months. This is, hands down, no contest. We've never seen nothing like this before. It really takes first place in terms of that pattern of cruelty that we've been watching for months. A system that increasingly forces, fear. It's literally increasingly like using fear and punishment instead of due process. We've seen reports of people arrested at immigration courts, people detained during green card appointments recently. That was one of the most ridiculous. We saw people just, a week ago or so, we saw people pulled aside right before citizenship ceremonies. They were at a ceremony, literally, and they pulled them, out. They told them, you can't stay. We have to pull you out. Imagine that, like going through the whole process, which is a process of years and very costly. And a lot of these people actually made it to this country legally. And the moment they are like right there during the ceremony, they are literally pulling them out. So ask yourself this: what kind of system turns the legal process into a trap? Moreover, like what kind of country tells you to come here? Yes, we want you to come here. We want you to come here. We want you to do it the right way, legally. And when you do so, sets a trap. They're literally setting a trap in courthouses right now to arrest you. So what kind of message right now you're sending to people? That doesn't make any sense. And I really find it very, very, shameful that you hear the president, Donald Trump, telling people, yeah, no, we want migrants. Of course we want, migrants to come here. But we want them to come in the right way. But unfortunately, that's not what we're seeing. What message does it send when, following the rules puts you at risk? It tells people not to trust the system. It tells people due process doesn't protect them. It tells people fear, in my opinion, is exactly the point. Now, let's talk about families and kids, because this is where the cruelty becomes impossible to deny. According to lawsuits and ACLU reports, U.S. citizen children have been deported with their parents, including a documented case involving a child with cancer, where advocates say the family was denied proper communication and medical coordination before deportation. A child with cancer, a citizen child with cancer, deported. And that's not border security. That's literally moral failure. And when people hear this, defenders of the administration usually respond with the same line, well, they shouldn't have come here in the first place. But here's the truth. Many of these families came here legally. Many of them followed the process. We just saw, I covered, my episode of, I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before yesterday. I talked about Kristi Noem sitting before Congress, literally 5 days ago or so? 4 days ago, 5 days ago? Kristi Noem sat down before Congress and she made a fool out of herself by saying, no, we've never deported. We have never deported veterans. Just to be confronted by a Zoom call with a veteran that she deported to, Korea or something. And then a bunch of others. She had a bunch of them surrounding her. Many of them were like right there at the hearing. And this guy that was interviewing her, what's his name? It sounds like this old anime messenger, but it's something like that. I forgot the last name. It's very, very close to the robot, that old a robot messenger. But anyway, this guy, this senator, is asking her, are you sure? Can you please? Then he would tell her, can you please stand up, or can you please join me in saying thank you? Can you please join me in saying thank you for your service? Stuff like that. He would literally put her on the spot, and she would have to turn around and say, hey, thank you for your service. So we saw how she was denying literally that she deported veterans, but they have deported veterans. And then they have also said under oath that they haven't arrested or detained, citizens, and they have detained citizens sometimes for days, 2 or 3 days. If I'm not mistaken, there was a recent case in Florida, and when I say recent, probably 3 to 4 months ago, if not a little bit more, there was a case of a citizen that was apparently in Alcatraz. I believe he was there for around a week, a citizen. But we've seen many others, 1 day, 2 days in detention, 3 days, no phone call, no, to a family member, no phone call to a lawyer, no rights, even though they show the documents, but they say, we don't care. Oh, I'm a citizen. I'm telling you, I'm a citizen. We don't care. That's what they tell them. We don't care if you're a citizen. You're going with us. So again, many of these families came legally. Many of them followed the process. Many of them showed up when the government told them to show up. And still they were detained or deported. That's not enforcement. That's intimidation, right there. And I just can't believe how anyone would support something like that. Now, let's start to connect the dots here, connect this to detention conditions. According to Amnesty International and other watchdogs, people in immigration detention have reported unsanitary conditions, denial of medical care, lack of showers, constant lighting 24 hours. Imagine having these people, if the whole point is like, hey, we're just removing people that shouldn't be here because they're supposedly here illegally, even though many of them are not here illegally. Well, we're removing very dangerous criminals and gang members and terrorists. Well, we already know that 60, 70% of them are not criminals, are not gang members, are not terrorists. And instead of just, I'm not saying, hey, we have to build a full, 5-star hotel for them. But to put them in conditions that even may be worse than some prisons, it's absolutely ridiculous. It speaks volumes in terms of what the actual purpose is. The purpose is to instill fear. The purpose is to actually punish these people just to try to better themselves. So again, they have reported unsanitary conditions, denial of medical care, lack of showers. Imagine not being able to take a shower, at least. Sometimes one meal a day. And punitive isolation, which is worse. I read recently about a two by two little cage that they're putting people, supposedly people that are not compliant or whatever. They're even beating them. There's stories that supposedly they're beating them or abusing them. Even sexual abuse. A lot of reports. Imagine putting somebody in a cage, a 2x2. Is that real? But they don't want to allow access to Democrats, and whenever Democrats want to just show up, as they have, the authority to do so, being members of Congress, with oversight, constitutional authority, they don't want to allow them in. Is this how adults, are treated? If that's how adults are treated, ask yourself, what would happen when children, if this new bill passes, becomes a law, Imagine what would happen when children are detained longer. Are even less capable of defending themselves, confronting, all these people. So this is why this bill is so dangerous. This is why the ACLU is sounding, the alarm, and many other organizations and law firms that just help and fight for the rights of all these people according to the Constitution and our immigration laws. Because this government, they claim to be the administration, the most transparent administration, the most legal and, lawful and constitution-based administration. Bullshit. We know that's not true. So again, this is why this bill is so dangerous, and because you cannot claim to protect children. Oh, this is the party of let's save the children. Let's get rid of drag shows. Let's get rid of the books. All these books, brainwashing our children, grooming our children. While at the same time, 3 weeks in, actually it's been more than 3 weeks right now. I think we're at day 23 maybe day 24 since they signed the law to release the Epstein files. And Donald Trump and Republicans were so eager, Pam Bondi, so eager to release them. Hey, now it's law, so yeah, we're going to release them right away. 23, 24 days. Do you know how many documents they have released, Pam Bondi? Zero documents. Why? Now it's law. Literally bipartisan. A bipartisan law. Not only that, it was unanimous in the Senate and almost unanimous in the House of Representatives. 427 votes. Only one guy voted no. Only one Republican opposed, voting, in favor of the bill. So that's what you call a real solid mandate. Because if you add up all the people who voted for each and one of those senators and House representatives, that's way more. I can guarantee if you go one by one and you add up how many votes each and every one of them got, that's way more than 77 million votes that Donald Trump received. So why is not that mandate from Congress, a co-equal branch of government, as important as any executive order Donald Trump would sign? What are they hiding? What are we going to see that Donald Trump is so freaking, panicked, so scared? He's shitting in his pants right now that he doesn't want these, files to come out. Why they made up this new investigation, completely made up. Pam Bondi, the DOJ, recently, months ago, put out an official statement saying We have nobody else, according to the actual evidence that we have nobody else to investigate. We are done. Pam Bondi said that officially. The DOJ put out a statement. This is a written statement. It's out there on the news. Kash Patel sat down a month and a half ago before Congress, and under oath, Kash Patel said, we have nobody else to pursue. We have nobody else to investigate. We have nobody else to arrest. If there was any credible evidence, said Kash Patel, if there was any credible evidence of any crime, anyone that Epstein trafficked to, remember, this was during the line of questioning by Senator Kennedy, Republican, asking him, who did Jeffrey Epstein traffic these girls to? And Kash Patel said, nobody. Nobody. There's nobody else aside from Epstein himself. If there had been anyone or any proof, I would have brought him, I would have brought that accusation, that indictment yesterday, he said. I would have filed that indictment yesterday. Myself. I would have brought it myself yesterday. Under oath, Kash Patel literally said there's no one else, according to the whole body of evidence that we, the FBI, have. Which was the same thing Pam Bondi said a couple of months ago. Hey, we checked everything. There was an official statement from the DOJ stating nobody else. And then all of a sudden, Donald Trump says, well, I'm ordering Pam Bondi to investigate Bill Clinton. And Pam Bondi replied literally a couple of hours later, yes, sir, we're doing this. We're moving forward. And then she was questioned by the press. You both, your own agency, the DOJ, and Kash Patel said under oath, you both said, both of the agencies said there's no one else and there's no evidence of any wrongdoing or crime or person that Epstein trafficked to. All of a sudden, where this new evidence came from? What are you basing this new investigation on? And she said, well, there's some new information. New information new information. That's all she could say. She couldn't even get her head, right, her thoughts together. She just couldn't get it together to just say something straight. Because how are you going to tell people with a straight face that you suddenly, the moment Donald Trump orders a new investigation, you suddenly found new information? And coincidentally, that information is related to Democrats. When you already have a leaked video of an official, a DOJ official leaked video, saying clearly that they were going to release only information that they had already marked related to Democrats. But they were going to redact, which refers that they were going to hide, block, cover any and every Republican name, obviously including Donald Trump's. That's why they had those 1,000 FBI agents working around the clock, only trying to find Donald Trump's name back around, March or April or so. I'm telling you, this is highly, highly, highly concerning what we're seeing right now. So that's why I'm telling you, this is this double standard and this, dual narrative. When it comes to migrants, these are criminals. We want to follow the law. We want to protect this country. But then when it comes to actually protecting, victims, minors here in the States of actual American citizens who raped them, who trafficked them, we don't want to touch that. Not even, from afar with a little stick or something. No. We don't want to go there. Yeah, we're so eager to release it, but for some reason we don't. I don't know. I just can't find the documents. Pam Bondi just can't seem to find the documents that she was going to release. Zero. Guys, imagine that. The freaking law was signed 22, 23 days ago, maybe 24. I believe the deadline is now, this coming Friday. And she still hasn't released shit. Not a single document. That tells you everything you need to know. The fact that they are still holding these documents means that probably they're working again overtime, doing, a second pass. Let's check, because we have to make sure that whatever we release doesn't have a single word, a single sentence, anything that points to Donald Trump or any Republican. This doesn't make any sense. And then they're the party pro-life. Yeah, this is why we want all these kids to be born all around the world because, we're so pro-life. But then when we have a kid here, yeah, we want to detain him and keep him in custody as if it was an adult that violated, our laws or something. We don't want to release him back to the family. A kid. You have to be a special kind of monster to come up with a bill like this. And again, this is why I'm saying this bill is so dangerous. You cannot claim to protect children while expanding a system that traumatizes them. Now, let's talk about raising money. Because this administration has made it very clear, who gets mercy and who gets punished. We see flexibility and fast tracking for wealthy migrants and investors. At the same time, migrants from poorer countries, especially from Latin America, Africa, and places Trump once called shithole countries, are treated as threats by default. Whole countries have been blocked. How are you going to do that? Just across the board. Yeah, whole countries. As if every single people coming from Venezuela or from Colombia or from, Haiti or whatever, whatever country you want to pick right now. It's like, everybody coming in, literally a criminal? Are you telling me nobody has a real legit case that will qualify for asylum? Man, I love all the pictures that I'm seeing right now. Kind of like a quick parenthesis, but I'm seeing all these pictures pop, all over the news, social media about all these, let me see if I can find one for you here. All the, the Christmas, and Jesus' birth, scenes, right? Jesus and Mary and Joseph and everything. But now, they're just missing. They're even putting ICE agents behind Jesus and Mary and Joseph. Let me just create a quick picture here because I may have, a page here so I can bring some of these pictures. I think I actually downloaded some of these pictures today that I wanted to share on the show. Yeah, this is one of them. Look at this. Church puts Holy Family in cage for Christmas. Look at that, man. Let me actually just get a little bit closer. And it's interesting that not only that, look at the stairs. I have the, the LGBT colors and support and all of that. I love that. But look at the cage, They, this is happening right now all over the country because everybody's saying, how are you going to claim to be, the country that supports the Bible and, Jesus story and that you're a Christian, but then you don't want to show any mercy whatsoever, towards, migrants. They puts Holy Family in cage for Christmas. And I believe I have a second one here. Let me see if I have it quickly so I can drop it here to share it with you guys that I found the second one very interesting too. Another design. Let me see. Okay, look at this one, man. Man, this is good. Sorry that I laugh, but I believe this is really good. I'm just laughing about how creative people are getting. Look at that. You have the three kings. You have Joseph. You have Mary. You have the baby Jesus, right? But then you have ICE agents. Look at that. You have a bunch of ICE agents right behind them. So they're getting arrested. They're getting detained right away, right? Because this is what America has become right now under Donald Trump. They claim to, love the Bible. Donald Trump says he claims that the Bible is his favorite book, right? But unfortunately, he's not living by the Bible. He may use it to get your vote. He may use it to get, Christians, money and Christians support. He wants Christians, like pastors and ministers support, of course. But he's not living by the Bible. I can tell you that. So anyway, we see flexibility and fast tracking for wealthy migrants and investors. And now they have the Trump VIP, whatever, gold card. If you have $5 million, I believe it is, you can just fast track your entrance right away. Probably you'll get some VIP treatment at Mar-a-Lago too. Who knows? Maybe some special, massages at the spa in Mar-a-Lago, which I don't know. There may be a reputation. I'm not sure. This is what people say online, and this is why they're investigating, because Jeffrey Epstein was poaching some of the girls from Mar-a-Lago, and one of those girls that he poached happened to be, and Donald Trump admitted it was her. Remember that girl? I forget her name right now. She was a minor when Epstein poached her to go work. Hey, come and work for me at my spa and in my island or whatever. And Donald Trump is, hey, stop poaching my girls from my spa. And that girl said that she was under 18 at the time that she was working. When she was taken by Jeffrey Epstein, she was under 18. So that means that Donald Trump had hired, allegedly, according to her testimony and according to even Donald Trump's admission, that yes, she was the one who Jeffrey Epstein poached. She was a minor, but she was working at the spa in Mar-a-Lago. So who hires minors to work massaging who at Mar-a-Lago spa? That is some, fucked up shit right there. Excuse my language, but that's the reality. I wouldn't support any minor working at any spa, massaging any millionaires and billionaires going to Mar-a-Lago to network with Donald Trump or who knows. To me, that's highly questionable and should be looked into. But anyway, we're seeing those wealthy migrants and investors getting that fast track opportunity. But at the same time, migrants from poorer countries, especially from Latin America, Africa, and places Trump once called shitholes. Literally, he called them shithole countries, are treated as threats by default. Poor migrants are punished. Brown migrants are punished. The rich are protected. This is not accidental, guys. Cruelty always flows downward. Now, let's talk about accountability. There have been multiple deaths right now in immigration detention this year. Senators and watchdog groups say overcrowding and medical neglect are major concerns. And it's been more than any prior year. If you check the deaths right now, they're higher than any other recent prior year when it comes to ICE and immigration detention centers. Why are people dying more now? Of course, we have a higher volume, so maybe you can do the math and try to say, well, percentage wise, if you check how many we had in custody in 2023 under Biden and how many died, and now you check exponentially how much it grew and how many have died, it's the same percentage. But that's not what, the media is saying right now. They say it's going up, and it's going up because of the cruelty. Senators and watchdog groups say overcrowding and medical neglect are major concerns. Every one of those deaths happened while people were under government custody. And instead of transparency, what we get? Denial and delay. Which brings us back to this bill that I'm telling you, HR 4371. This bill would give the government more power over children, not less. Even if you don't want to listen, to me, guys, I know this is my new podcast. You don't know who the hell I am. Who the hell is this, Puerto Rican, bald, whatever, unknown person, just rambling here on YouTube. That's fine. That's fine. I love what I do when it comes to journalism, podcasting. I have a Spanish podcast. I help Brian Tyler Cohen with his Spanish podcast. I've been doing this for, a long time. But now I decided to start doing this in English too. So this is why maybe I may have popped here on your YouTube. But even if you don't believe me, or you don't care about what I have to say, please go and read about this new bill. The ACLU is sounding the alarm about HR 4371. They just passed this in the House. They just passed this bill, HR 4371. This bill would give the government more power over children, not less. More detention, more invasive searches, fewer protections. That should concern everyone, regardless of party affiliation. Because once the government decides some children deserve fewer rights, the door is open. They're just completely setting aside the Constitution. We've seen that since day one of this administration. No due process. Donald Trump signed an executive order to try to deny birthright citizenship. This is completely shameful. And the door is open. If we allow this bill to go through, the door will be open. So if you're watching live right now, answer this. Do you trust this system with more power over kids? Do you think they're really going to take care of this better than any family member while they decide what to do? Do you want to see kids in custody tortured and, dehumanized and abused and who knows what for months? Who knows? This is not about being soft or tough, guys. It's about basic human dignity. A country can enforce its laws without humiliating children. A country can enforce its laws, managing the borders without destroying families. A country can protect itself without abandoning due process. We don't have to abandon due process. What we're seeing instead of, is cruelty. Masqueraded, just, being repackaged and sold as policy, but it's really cruelty. It's abuse. And history shows us where that leads. So here's the bottom line. This bill is dangerous not just because of what it does, but because of what it signals. It signals that children's suffering is acceptable. It signals that migrant families are disposable. It signals that fear is the strategy. It's like, these people get together. I can imagine, especially Stephen Miller, man, this guy is like so freaking messed up. He's sick. He's definitely sick. I'm pretty sure I can picture them. Can you picture them? I can picture them having these meetings, in the White House. Like, what else can we do to really make it sting, to really hurt them? Because we want them out of here. An FBI official, I'm not sure if you saw this. I remember his name. We had an FBI official. It wasn't Kash Patel, of course. Just 3 days ago, we had him before Congress answering questions. And he was being asked, about Antifa. He was talking about Antifa and saying that, Antifa is right now all over the country and it's a terrorist organization. And they were asking him, can you share any information? Where is Antifa? Where, if you found Antifa and you're saying that this is now the number one organization in terms of terrorism, where is it? How many members does it have? You don't have to give us names. This congressperson is asking him, don't give me any names. This is an FBI official on their oath claiming that they identified Antifa, which is not an organization. There's no team. There's no directors. There's, no leaders, no plan, no manifesto, no meetings, no, financing, no money, no bank accounts, no nothing, but still it's supposed to be an organization. And it's the number one terrorist organization, Antifa, which is it's short for anti-fascism. And this guy is like, start stuttering. He wouldn't answer. And then he said, we have investigations, right now. We're investigating. And we're setting up our structure right now. The guy asked him, where is Antifa? Where's the headquarters? How many members? And he's like, this is the answer, completely disconnected from the question. The guy is like, we're just kind of setting up our structure right now. And the congressperson goes like, what? I'm asking you, where's Antifa? Where are the headquarters? If you identified, this is number one organization, you must have names. You must know who these people are. We know, supposedly, according to Pete Hegseth, we know every single person on that boat. We knew who they were. We knew who they represented. We knew what they were doing. You're telling me 100% the names and the people and what they're doing and who they represent in these little boats in the Caribbean? But you cannot tell Congress how many people are in Antifa and where they are and who they represent and what are they doing? That's something Congress should know. But the guy just couldn't, get his thoughts, together. But why I'm saying that? Because at the same time, we hear this narrative coming from the FBI, from the DOJ, which, you can hear Pam Bondi anytime she's talking. Yeah, Antifa. Pam Bondi, I don't know. I wish somebody would go and do research how many times Pam Bondi has named Antifa since she's been in office. I'm pretty sure it must be probably in the thousands by now. Times, she has used the word Antifa. How many times has she named white supremacy and, domestic terrorism, which according to the FBI and the DOJ, even under Donald Trump's first administration, and then under Biden's, and recently, this is like the stats for all recent years, we know 75% of domestic terrorism is perpetrated by white supremacist groups, like extreme right-wing people. Not Antifa, but you know what's going on right now? We have supposedly some camps popping all over the nation of white supremacy that are growing. I just saw on CNN a special report about a camp. I forgot where it was. Go and check on CNN, search for white supremacy camp, and you're going to read a very interesting article. They are developing like this whole army. These people are doing trainings and stuff, and 75% of the crime, domestic terrorism, is coming from these groups, but they're not talking about that. The FBI, the DOJ, they're not interested. Not only that, they asked them, are white supremacists still, in this case, considered, like terrorist groups or stuff like that? And now they said that they were not considering, like the guy literally said that now they were reviewing their categories because they were not considering apparently white supremacists to be domestic terrorists anymore. Some of these groups, go and check both of these things. I watched these like a couple of days ago, and I really wasn't planning on talking about this right now because I'm going off the top of my head. But both things were highly concerning. The fact that they're, they keep sounding the alarm and talking Antifa, but then the actual people committing 75% of the crime, they're taking them off the list of dangerous groups or domestic terrorism or whatever. It doesn't make any sense. So it tells you clearly that this is all about, a narrative. It's all about politics. It's not about real American safety. Look at what happened in Australia. That mass shooting, you know what happened? Politicians the next day got together. It took them one day to get together and try to come up with some sensible legislation. Remember the story of Australia. They came up, after they had a really awful mass shooting. I believe it was like late in the 90s or so, around the 90s. They came up with this very extreme gun legislation, and they actually took the guns. They were asking people to give back the guns, and a lot of people were skeptical about it, but they went along because at the end of the day, it became law. But now, after that, mass shootings completely disappeared. Mass shooting disappeared for years. But then again, like companies started lobbying, and after, a couple of decades, they started to, loosen up when it came to the extreme gun control laws. And as soon as they did, just like, cause and effect. You could see it coming. They started having mass shootings again. So now they said, hey, we have to go back to what we had. We can't allow this shit to happen. One mass shooting, just one, 11 people. That 11 people in the USA would be, that's nothing. Just sun came out this morning. Absolutely normal. Like Brian Tyler Cohen said on his show, it took Australia one day to come together and, come up with some legislation, at least, proposals so that they can amend, their laws or even propose new ones. It takes 2 days in the USA for legislators to literally forget about it, just to move on. 1 day to fix it in Australia, 2 days to just move on and forget about the victims in the USA. Why? Because they live in the NRA's pockets. The NRA is funding the vast majority of Republicans. Go and check since 2005 and forward up to this point, so at least for the past like 20 years, literally around like maybe 95, 98% of the money being donated to political candidates has gone to Republicans. And actually, the last report that I saw showed Ted Cruz as the highest person receiving money from, the NRA and from these, the gun industry, gun manufacturing industry. But anyway, going back to, to the topic of the, this bill. This bill signals, like I said, that children's suffering is acceptable, and it's signaling that migrant families are disposable, and that fear is a strategy. That's why the ACLU is urging people to speak up now. You have to speak up now before the Senate acts. And if you care about children, if you care about due process, if you care about, what kind of country this is becoming, you should care about this bill. So tell me in the comments, please. By the way, make sure to like and subscribe. But tell me in the comments, what part of this whole bill and discussion, shocks you the most? And if this helped just to create some awareness, or if it helped you to understand a little bit better what's happening when it comes to this bill and what Republicans are doing, the Trump administration, please like, subscribe, and share this with someone who still thinks this is just politics, because it's not. It's a power game, and Donald Trump is playing this game to win. It's about power and how power treats the powerless. And that tells you everything you need to know. But especially when it's related to kids, guys, we just can't have the same type of stupid debates and just insults. And we have to, even, I hope that even if you don't agree with me, even if you're, support Donald Trump or whatever, I hope that there's a little bit of, decency in you, that you can still think that, when it comes to kids and babies, we should at least show some sort of humanity. Something Donald Trump is not showing. Look at what happened with, Rob Reiner. Absolutely horrendous. That even Piers Morgan, guys, Piers Morgan, out of all hosts, Piers Morgan literally mopped the floor so firmly. He was so mad and so disappointed in Donald Trump for mocking this family. This guy was killed. His wife was killed by their son, who has mental health problems, drug addiction problems. And Donald Trump made it about him. Oh, this is what happens when you have the Trump deranged syndrome. You drive everybody crazy. What the hell? I'm like, I don't know. Where's your sense of decency? Where's your, Christianity in moments like that? Not only Donald Trump's, because we already know he's just lost. I'm just hoping that nature, life, will do what they have, what it has to do. And I just pray, God, don't you want to make heaven great again, please? Don't you need a bright, mind with you up there? Like, we've had them way too long already down here. Please, God, please. In Jesus' precious name, amen. A lot of people are praying, God, listen to our prayer. Man, the random channel is saying here, I couldn't agree more. Random channel says here, Trump is such a terrible human being, legitimate garbage. It's sad, it's unfortunate, but Donald Trump is dividing us more than ever. Hey, and I'm a progressive, no question, but I can respect people who can respect me. Like, for instance, I admired a lot when I saw John McCain during his campaign, facing Obama. And as you guys may remember, John McCain was holding a lot of town halls, per usual. And these people would show up and grab the microphone and start accusing Obama. Oh, he's a terrorist. He's an Arab. And he would just snatch the microphone out of their hands and tell them, no, lady, no. I'm sorry. This campaign is not about that. Mr. Obama, he's a U.S. citizen. He's a good person. He is a family man. He's just somebody who I happen to have fundamentally political differences in terms of policy, but he's not a person that you should be afraid of. Man, I'm telling you, I saw that. I'm like, bro, that's like real integrity and decency. Like being able to just separate the actual politics debate and just stay humane and be respectful. We don't have that anymore in this country. And even John McCain was completely mocked by Donald Trump, who said that, he preferred soldiers who weren't captured. After John McCain spent like 5.5 years as a war prisoner, not only he spent like over 5 years as a war prisoner, John McCain refused to be released because he was offered to be released earlier, but he said, I'm not leaving without these other people that were arrested with me. If not all of us are leaving, I don't want to leave. Can you imagine Donald Trump if he had been in the military and he was captured and more people were captured. Can you imagine him getting an offer to be released and him saying, no, there's no way I want to go back. I want to stay here with my people because, if they're not released, I don't want to be released either. I'm going to stay here away from everything, every luxury, away from my golden toilet, and my golden car and my golden buildings and my golden whatever, Can you imagine Donald Trump doing the same thing? I know you can't. Not even if you're a MAGA. if you adore Donald Trump, you can't picture Donald Trump just being, just unselfish. I don't think Donald Trump has ever been unselfish. But, I couldn't agree more with that comment in terms of Donald Trump being completely, just such an awful human being. Anyway, let me read a couple of comments here before I wrap it up here. And please like, subscribe. Like I said, I'm just trying to, get this new channel going. If you speak Spanish or know any Hispanic people, my podcast in Spanish is called Aranzamendi Podcast Español. Also, please support Brian Tyler Cohen's Spanish channel. It's called Brian Tyler Cohen Español. I've been working with Brian for the past 3 years. We're doing all these contents, videos from his English channel. We're just translating a lot of those videos to Spanish. And, in a better way, because YouTube will do it automatically, but translations are awful. So, but anyway, Brian Tyler Cohen Español, please go and help us with that channel too. Even if you don't speak Spanish, if you support somehow, spreading good information and combating misinformation, the Hispanic community is vital and crucial. They helped Donald Trump win. This is why we want to get information in Spanish to them, real good information, because the Spanish traditional media is not doing a good job at all. If you believe the English media ecosystem in the USA is doing an awful job, I can tell you the Spanish channels like Univision, Telemundo, or even CNN, their Spanish division, they're not doing a good job at all. Probably they're doing way worse, doing Donald Trump's bidding and both siding, every issue. And people don't hear the things that they should hear, especially Hispanics. I'm telling you, they're the biggest voting bloc after, Americans, white Americans, I mean. So, but definitely, like I said, if you want to help us out, just go and support us by supporting those channels, Aranzamendi Podcast Español and Brian Tyler Cohen Español. And thank you so much for that. So NM Campbell says, hi, thank you for tuning in. For you, I appreciate it. 1005 Lips says, I live in a summer tourist destination. Tourism is down by 70% last summer. That's a really sad thing. I've been seeing these kinds of news from like all over the country, even in Florida. A lot of businesses they just can't keep going. A lot of businesses are just filing for bankruptcy because they don't have the customer base anymore. And the same thing in California. Like hotels, like Vegas, everything. It's just a whole bloodbath when it comes to the tourism. Not only because migrants just are either, being deported, arrested, detained, or they're hiding because they don't want to go out. I'm going to tell you something. I'm Puerto Rican. I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I lived here until I was like maybe 4 years old. My mom went back to Puerto Rico. Of course, she took us, me and my siblings. And then I lived in Puerto Rico for roughly 35 years. Now I've been back here for around 9 years, almost 10 now in Texas. And my wife is Puerto Rican. My daughter's Puerto Rican. We're all citizens since 1913 or so that the U.S. gave Puerto Ricans automatic citizenship. Even if you're born, in the island in Puerto Rico, you're an automatic U.S. citizen. It's a U.S. territory, and we have citizenship now for over 100 years. I'm concerned every single day when we go out because you see even citizens being detained. You see the abuses. You see that you just so happen to not be likable, to whoever's stopping you, you may have a real, problem. Anytime I leave the house, I'm turning around the corner and I realize I don't have my wallet with me. I'm like, oh shit, I have to go back because it can happen to anyone. I can tell them, hey, I can speak maybe a little bit better English, or hey, look, I'm from Puerto Rico. Do you want me to tell you "wepa" or something? One of Puerto Ricans, I don't know, cultural phrases and words or says. None of that's gonna work. None of that's going to work, especially if they open my social media and they see my podcast and all my memes and blogs about Donald Trump. Oh, I would definitely be detained probably for a full year before I get a phone call, right? So it's unfortunate that even myself, being a U.S. citizen, born here, I'm Puerto Rican, so I'm automatically a citizen. But not only I'm Puerto Rican, I was actually born here in the mainland in Milwaukee, in Wisconsin. My birth certificate is from the U.S. My social security is from the U.S., not from the Puerto Rico serial. These come in blocks, and they're kind of different for Puerto Rico, at least the first three digits. And that concern is still there because I'm Hispanic. My family is Hispanic, and I'm absolutely proud of being a Hispanic, being Puerto Rican. And I don't care. People sometimes, you can read the haters in the chat like, oh, deport this guy or whatever. They say all these hateful things. That doesn't, bother me at all. I have thick skin. I come from Puerto Rico. We handle really well, pressure. And I'm telling you, a lot of these guys in the chat here, sometimes being all these, alpha males, very tough, they wouldn't survive a day in Puerto Rico. I can assure you that. So the chat for me, this is, you insulting me in the chat, coming from Puerto Rico, I can tell you that's just like you giving me a hug. That's the equivalent, I'm telling you. So it really doesn't bother me at all, but it's unfortunate that we have this situation here. So that all I'm saying with this, all I wanted to get to is that this is me. And I'm always, telling my daughter when she's going out, do you have your ID? You have your passport? You have your driver license, everything. Okay, just make sure to have that at hand with you at all times. Imagine those who are here running, through the process of immigration, going to their hearings, seeing every single day how people are being dragged. Their hearings are being canceled. Judges are right now working in complete, I don't know, just how you call it, plan. They're pre-planning everything. And they're canceling these hearings so that once it's canceled, now you don't have any legal process ongoing. So now we can take you. And all these migrants are seeing this daily on the news, on social media, the cruelty, families being completely torn apart, separated, people crying, kids, screaming, traumatized, and they don't want to go out. So that's hurting businesses too. It's very unfortunate. Very, very, very unfortunate. Let me see. We have here Karen 179 says, that's sad. I came here legally, but I feel bad for those people. I'm not agree with the Democrats telling people to come here illegally because a lot of people die in Mexico by the cartel. Karen, I appreciate your comment. Let me tell you this. I haven't heard a single Democrat ever say we want people to come here illegally. Actually, remember, before this new administration of Trump, and this is something Ron DeSantis said during the primaries to become the nominee. Remember, Donald Trump had to face Ron DeSantis and many others during the 2024, cycle. And Ron DeSantis said, oh, Donald Trump talks this whole big game about being the super, deporter in chief, but Obama was the real deporter in chief, and Obama deported, and when it came to the numbers, he deported way more people than Donald Trump. They just didn't have this whole, theater and spectacle and narrative about being abusive and tough and anti-immigrants, and Obama wasn't going around calling all migrants, rapists and drug dealers and traffickers and thieves and people with mental health problems. Obama wasn't doing that shit, but Obama, during his years, percentage-wise, he deported way more people. That's why I'm telling you, he was called the deporter in chief. So that notion, it literally contradicts that notion that they wanted to bring people here legally. That's Fox News propaganda. That's right-wing, extreme, right-wing propaganda. Facts don't really go along with that. So anyway, thank you for your comment, but unfortunately, you're just at this point, that's 100% misinformation. And not only that, remember Joe Biden wanted to sign the border bill made by the Republican, a bipartisan bill originated by a Republican named James Lankford. James Lankford had this great bill that would have added, I think it was over 1,000 judges so that they could speed up all these cases that we have a backlog There's a backlog of more than 4 years. Any person receiving a hearing right now for, asylum or whatever, these people have to wait 4 years. That's why they would just stay in this limbo. They could stay, but waiting a hearing for 4 years. Right now, they're giving hearings past 2028 because of the backlog. So this bill would have addressed that. More than 1,000 new judges, a bunch of funds, millions or billions of dollars to have more agents also at the border helping, for border patrol, and then billions of dollars too to address new technology to find the drugs, when it came to the border too. Fentanyl and all these things. There's new technology that would have helped a lot. So it was addressing literally the root of the problem. And Donald Trump said no. 10 months before the election, Donald Trump didn't want Joe Biden to score a win by signing a Republican bill that would have solved all the needs of the border crisis. So if you want to tell me that Democrats are telling people to come here illegally, but then Biden says, send me the bill, send me the bipartisan bill originated by the Republican guy, James Langford, and I'm going to sign it 10 months before the 2024 election. And Donald Trump says, no, we're going to do it next year. It's been a year, and the only thing they signed was a bill called the Laken-Riley bill, which did some things but didn't address the immigration problem. It's not fixing immigration. It's not addressing all these things. Like I told you, it's not addressing the lack of judges. It's not addressing the technology. It's not addressing all these additional agents for the border patrol. And there were some areas. I'm just telling you the three main ones. So they don't have right now the interest to fix the border. Why would they fix it if they can leave it just as is? Right? And just enforced through ICE and, violating the Constitution and violating the law and then just fighting all these court cases and waiting, because if we lose in 2028 or 2026, now we have again the same boogeyman. Oh, Democrats, the open border, because they didn't fix it. They have right now full control of government. They have the executive, they have the House, they have the Senate. Why are not they passing a border bill that it's comprehensive? You're not going to see it. Because they never want to fix the border. Once they fix the border, then they don't have an excuse to blame the Democrats. It's just a game, guys. It's just a game, unfortunately. Pam Gator says, Americans get detained all the time. Psst, come on. I'm not even going to respond to that. It really doesn't prove anything. What we're seeing in terms of the abuse and people being disappeared. Have you seen any American being detained, denied due process, and sent to El Salvador? To a gulag in El Salvador? No, right? Thank you. So come on, please. This same guy saying, deport. Okay. Let's see here. So we have here, Johnny says, okay, they don't want to go to those prisons, get the F out of countries, leave Western nations. They do not have a right to be in our country. Johnny 5, come on, Johnny. We have laws that say that people can come here legally. Donald Trump is saying, yes, we want you to come here legally. We have asylum laws. We have, refuge, laws. Many of these people came here legally. You just can't put them all in the same bucket. And again, don't pretend you care about the laws if you're defending Donald Trump. You have a convicted felon in the White House. So please, don't give me the bullshit that, we have laws, these people are here illegally. Says who? The guy who voted for a convicted felon to be the U.S. president? Man, get out of here. Get the F out of here, bro. With that bullshit. Just say that you don't want brown people here. Say, hey, I'm a racist and I don't want brown people here. I just want people that look like me. If I don't even know if you're, white at all, because we have some blacks and Hispanics and others supporting Donald Trump. It's just like, cockroaches voting for raid or real kill or, insecticide. So, it's so stupid, right? But anyway, it is what it is. Robert Charles says here, I doubt the deportation centers are worse than American prisons. Maybe they're worse than Mexican prisons. Hey, I'm telling you, these people, most people in American prisons, they get a shower a day. They can sleep at night with the lights off. They get medical treatment. They get 3 meals a day. This is not what these people are reporting. Some of these people get 1 meal a day. They don't get any showers, light on every single day. Abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, being put in a 2x2 cage. I'm not sure what prison you're talking about, Robert. So just go and get the facts, bro. Read about these Amnesty International reports and tell me if you find any prison right now doing any worse than that here in the States. Because you may find, a couple of very, very bad prisons here, but none of that will be legal. Ryan said, Robert's mother was a N-A-Z-Y. Let me not say the word because sometimes Google may start flagging or whatever. Karen says, Biden and Obama had them in a bad condition in a cage. Okay, so 2 bad ones. Even, first of all, I'm not going to automatically say that this is true. There were big cages where, many people were at some point detained. Bigger cages. I'm not saying a 2x2 cage. Find me a single news item about during Obama's era or Biden's era, any migrant being punished by being put inside a 2x2 cage, or being beaten, or being sexually abused, or being denied food or showers, or leaving lights on 24 hours a day, or many other things that I'm not going to keep repeating myself. Please, come on. So this is another thing. Look at this, Karen 179. This is the problem with Republicans. They're so desperate to combat, the left and progressives and Democrats that they'll say things like these that all of a sudden sound good, right? Like Biden and Obama had them in a bad condition in a cage. Which one is it? They want migrants to feel, like completely welcomed, or they treat migrants badly? Which one is it? Because keeping people like Obama deporting more than Trump, and now you're telling me that Obama also and Biden were putting them in cages and abusing them. Which one is it? You guys are telling us that they want to welcome them. They want to give them free meals and free ATM or whatever, Visa, gift cards, and they want to give them free everything and make them feel like they're welcome so they can go and vote and replace, whites down the road and everything. But then you want to also tell us that they were treating migrants badly. So you see how this is so easy, guys, man. This is so easy. Please. I know there's a gazillion podcasts out there, and you can go and, kind of like share all this bullshit. Whenever you come here, please, I'm telling you in advance, please make sure you have done your homework, because I'm always well prepared and I'm a great debater too. I'm very skilled when it comes to, disassembling your whole excuses and arguments. And believe me, I read them all. My oldest brother is probably more MAGA than any of all of you combined. And I have debated him daily for the past at least like 7 or 8 years. I have heard every single bullshit excuse you guys normally get from Fox News and from all your rabbit holes, conspiracy theory-based outlets. And there's not a single one of them that can survive, at least here on my channel. So please, don't make a fool out of yourself, saying stupid things like, yeah, they're all for migrants, but they also abuse migrants, putting them in cages and treating them badly because yeah, they love them, they want them here, but just forget what I said. I don't know, maybe I just need like a candy bar or something. My brain is not working. That's what you guys, I guess would say, because it's stupid. It doesn't make any sense at all. Look at that. Look at that. I was literally just saying this. Mark Hartley says, Obama put more people in cages. Okay, so I guess Obama now is worse for migrants. Do you hear that, migrants? Democrats don't love you, like, Donald Trump will say, and most Republicans say. We have people in the chat now saying that Obama and Biden are monsters, mistreating and abusing migrants, putting them in cages too, and that's one thing. Number one, obviously it doesn't make sense. You have to make up your mind. And in Spanish, we have this really nice say. I'm going to try to translate, but it goes something like this. Like you have to straighten your hair, or you have to, make it curly. But you just can't have it, both ways, right? So choose a narrative and stick to that. If you want to go with the narrative that they're just as bad as Donald Trump, then you have to drop they want to treat migrants like kings and make them feel welcome. You cannot have it both ways. You just can't have it both ways. So, that's one of the things that we say all the time. If you really want to try to use that argument, please make sure that it makes sense, okay? What else? Ryan, so I don't know if this was to me or somebody else saying bullshit. Let me see here. Robert says here, they might be taking people that are legally, according to the Biden administration, which was entirely legal. So they should have, should leave. Okay. That's a complete, I don't know, just why people say things that they just can't back. You can't back that up. You can back it up. You're just making something up to just, I don't know, feel good about your position that you just can't defend. But now you want to, I don't know, come up with something that you can't prove, right? What else? Obama had the worst administration, though. Okay. This is the other thing that I was going to say. So one is that be consistent with your narrative. Number two, I don't care about Obama and Biden. I don't care. Why? Because Democrats, progressive, don't, attach to a person. We don't have a cult of personality. That's you guys. You guys love Donald Trump to the point where you will literally vote for a convicted felon. The guy's hiding the Epstein files, and you're like, that's my guy. That's my guy. Woo! Trump, 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 Trump. Yeah. We don't care. If Obama violated the law, hey, make him pay. If Clinton was on the island with girls, process him. I couldn't care less. I don't give a shit. No, none of us do. No Democrat gives a shit. All Democrats voted in favor of publishing, releasing the Epstein files before Donald Trump was forced to say that he really wanted to share them. Yeah, I'm asking all Republicans to vote in favor because we have nothing to hide. But 3 weeks later, after the bill was passed and he signed it into law, 3 weeks later, over 3 weeks now, they haven't released shit. They were so eager to release it that they haven't released shit. This is why, why they get you, right? But then that's the point. So number one, make sure your narrative is consistent, that you're trying to attack Democrats, that you're not literally shooting yourself, in the foot. But the other thing is that we don't care. Oh, Obama did it too. We don't care. It makes no difference. He is not the president anymore. If you say they were very bad, they violated the law, they were corrupt, they were everything from the A to the Z, I'm not going to debate it. They are gone. They are history. There's a reason why they are not in charge anymore. There's a reason Biden had to quit. He was not going to win. He was too old, and there was too much, too much in terms of the frustration because of the pandemic, because inflation was still high. He had a great overall presidency. 16 million jobs and all the bipartisan laws that he passed, and the economy was great in every single aspect on paper, but people were not feeling it in their pockets. Inflation was still high. Why? Because the economy was still growing. So there was no incentive for any manufacturer, for any corporation, for no one to lower prices. Why would you lower prices when your business is still growing? Corporations were still bringing in record profits during the Biden administration. So that's a problem. When you have inflation high, but the economy is still growing, that's a very unusual situation. It happens, but it's not like when you have also high inflation, but then the economy is decelerating. And then, of course, now because it's decelerating, you can lower interest rates. Donald Trump wants to lower them artificially. He just wants to put somebody there and say, hey, bring it down to 2%. I don't care. But sir, that's gonna lead to a crisis. That will look at what happened with Nixon. I don't give a shit. You do as I say, or I'm gonna, fucking fire you. That's how Donald Trump operates. But Biden and Kamala Harris and us, all of us Democrats, we thought we had it in the bag. There's no way that with all of Biden's accomplishments and the great economy and record high, markets and record low unemployment, 16 million jobs. Biden only had in his whole tenure. Look at this. In his whole tenure, Biden had only 1 month. 1 month where he had lower jobs than those than those that Donald Trump reported right now in like 7 months. Every single month, Biden added, job creation was soaring under Joe Biden. Imagine that, 16 million jobs. Obama couldn't add more jobs than Biden in 8 years. He did it in 4. Clinton, which had a lot, couldn't add more jobs than Biden. And Clinton also had 8 years. Donald Trump left with 3 million jobs lost the prior administration. And what are people saying? Well, that was because of the pandemic. Well, he averaged 1.33 million jobs lost per year. If you go and, obviously divide 3 million by 4 years, it's going to be 1.333, right? So now he has lost in 10, almost 11 months, 1.2 millions. So he's literally averaging now. Donald Trump is averaging now, in this second administration, the exact same job loss that he averaged during a pandemic. The main difference is that now he received a booming economy, a growing economy, stable economy, record job creation under Joe Biden, and he immediately freaking tanked it and destroyed it. And he's literally trending on the same average of job creation he had during the pandemic without a pandemic. That's how much of a genius Donald Trump is. But of course, if you listen to Jesse Waters, Jesse Bonkers Waters every single day, and Sean Dumb Hannity and I don't know Laura Lackey Ingram, of course this is what you're gonna believe. But when you go and look at the numbers, you're gonna realize that's what we care about. So again, just to wrap it up, when it comes to that point and that comment, I don't care about Obama. I don't care about anything the Democrats might have done, because that's not going to change anything right now. And you guys voted against them because that was supposed to be bad. Whatever they were doing was supposed to be bad. And now to defend your own criminal, convicted criminal felon, loser who is tanking the economy and destroying everything, you want to say the only defense is like, oh, well, they did it too. Didn't you say that was the reason you kicked them the fuck out? Because they were so bad managing the economy, and now to defend them on the economy or on immigration or whatever it is, it's like, oh, Obama didn't do it. Biden didn't release the Epstein files. That's your defense, really? The other person, the other guy did it too, for real? I thought that's why you didn't like the other guy. So all of a sudden, you love this guy doing the same thing that the other guy was, supposed to be doing that made him so bad and so unqualified. I'm telling you, I'm not gonna say that you have to be dumb or stupid, but I'm gonna say that you have to be highly, highly naive and manipulated to believe all these things that Donald Trump is saying. But anyway, guys, I have to go. It's been longer than I expected. I wanted to be here. Maybe I said I'm gonna do like maybe 30 minutes, and then just wrap it up. And it's already been an hour and a half. So thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Daniel Aranzamendi. I love the fact that some of you, some insults, of course, you've seen them. I don't care. But I want to say thank you, even to you guys, Trump supporters that are, just exchanging ideas and defending your views. I appreciate that you can do it with, at least with respect. And at least you're trying. You're trying to, to participate and to share your vision and allow me to respond to that. I really appreciate it. And I would encourage you to keep coming, just keep, joining and let me know how you feel and how you think and why you think we're maybe doing it bad. If you think we're going to win in 2026, because everything points to a blue tsunami. I'm feeling so good right now. I'm feeling so good about our chances because Donald Trump, man, he sees the whole economy, the whole country is just, falling apart. And he's like, no, this is the golden era. Everything is way down. And even some Republicans are, bro, you have to stop saying that everything is just like a hoax. Everything to Donald Trump is suddenly a hoax. He used the affordability word for 4 years straight. Oh, everything is so unaffordable. Oh, groceries. I won on groceries. I think I won on groceries here. Listen to Donald Trump. I won on groceries. It was so great to talk about whatever was expensive when he was on the other side of the fence of the White House, right? Check this.
One on groceries. It's a very simple word, groceries. Like almost, who uses the word? I started using the word, the groceries. When you buy apples, when you buy bacon, when you buy eggs, they would double and triple the price over a short period of time. When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
Starting the day I take the oath of office, I will rapidly drive prices down and we will make America affordable again. Prices will come down. You just watch. They'll come down and they'll come down fast. We will rapidly defeat inflation. We're going to bring your prices down. Vote Trump and your incomes will soar. Your net worth will skyrocket. Your energy cost and grocery prices will come tumbling down. Prices are way down, groceries are down, everything's down, energy's way down.
Prices are up in the United States for coffee. It's up almost 20%. Utility up 11.7%. And then electricity is up 5.1%. And vehicle repair, if you need your car fixed, it's up 11.5%.
Man, I'm telling you, I'm just having a blast. Donald Trump, I wish he keeps doing this. I wish he keeps doing this, and I wish Republicans keep saying that everything is just great. The golden era's here, everything is way down, everything is affordable, and telling people that it's a hoax, that we have to move on. They're even starting to talk about affordability, austerity. That's the new word. Donald Trump was like, oh, they found a new word, like affordability. They found a new word right now on Fox News, austerity. They're telling people we have to start talking about austerity. Nobody wants to talk about austerity. Fox, give me a break. I thought we were in the middle of the golden era. This was the era when I was going to be able to afford, a better home or maybe a second car or to be able to have that disposable income so I can go and play some golf at Mar-a-Lago or maybe go and travel a little bit, right? I was supposed to be living in the golden era according to Donald Trump. But listen to this affordability, bullshit now coming from Fox News. Check this out.
We never want to use that word austerity. We heard that in Europe when things were going haywire in Greece. Nobody wants to talk about austerity or cutting back. But whether it's Biden inflation at 9% or a slight increase that you're seeing from tariffs, we know that prices are higher. We've had to live with that for some time. So I'm surprised that people aren't adjusting. I'm surprised that people are using so much plastic when they know that credit card interest rates are something like 23% for the average consumer. I don't understand where the system has failed people in understanding that you're not entitled to having things, and that when times are tough, whether it's because of the conditions, economic conditions around you, or maybe in your personal household as a result of something that has happened, why you can't pull back.
You see how all of a sudden they found this new word, austerity. We have to start talking. You see, this is what I'm telling you guys, Republicans, and especially you MAGA, lackeys. You have to make up your mind. You can't be talking about the golden era and how everything is going great and how everything right now is like so low, so affordable, man. Like right now, I'm telling you, I hadn't noticed that, I'm right now keeping at least 30-40% more money in my pocket every single week. Man, amazing what's going on. You can't just go around saying that that's the golden era. It's here. Donald Trump already made it happen. But then, now you start spreading this narrative about, oh, we have to start talking about austerity. It's your fault. You're just misusing the money. You're mismanaging. You're not budgeting properly. You're not entitled to have things. Well, I thought Donald Trump told us that we were going to be able to afford things. So which one is it? Is it the golden era? Or is it the austerity period that we have to, now get into that mindset of austerity? Why would you consider austerity when things are just going great and you have that extra disposable income to now do those extra things that you wanted to do? So it's like always, again, same bullshit with Fox News. They'll tell you one thing to get your vote, but then once they don't deliver on the promises, Republicans, Trump, they'll start with some bullshit. Well, it's Biden. The Biden economy was worse than we expected. Oh, the Biden this, Biden that, Democrats that, yeah. But we're fixing it now. This is what J.D. Vance is saying, and Trump too. Now 2026 is going to be really the good year. This was the, that kind of like the crisis, the curation, getting better, kind of crisis. We just gave you that awful, bad-tasting medicine, and it feels difficult right now. But 2026, Donald Trump said on day one, everything is coming down. On day one, you're gonna see it. And they think that people are so stupid, especially its own base, right? Why? Because Donald Trump then comes and signs an executive order saying, "Oh, I'm lowering drug prices. I'm going to lower drug prices." He has no power to lower drug prices. That has to come through legislation. But he signed the executive order, and then old MAGA lackeys ran. They went to their podcast and on Fox News and everything. Yeah, prices of medication coming down 1,500%, 700%, 1,000%. So that means that when you go to buy, Tylenol or Advil, they're gonna pay you. According to Donald Trump, he's lowering prices by 1,000%, 500%, 700%. That's stupid. You have to be kind of stupid to say something like that because 50% is just half price, right? If it's 100% off, it's free. If it's 500% off, that means they're gonna pay you 5 times the original cost of it. So, Donald Trump says all these things, and then these people go and repeat the same bullshit. But look at what happened. He signed the bill. The executive order. Yeah, we're lowering drug prices. And then, I don't know if it was Greg Casar. It was one of the, Ro Khanna. Ro Khanna took Donald Trump's executive order, and he said, well, this has no binding, authority or power, no validity unless we really legislate in Congress, right? So let's help Donald Trump. He's saying he wants to go after the big pharma in lower prices with this new executive order. So Ro Khanna put that into a bill, literally verbatim, exactly how Donald Trump wrote the executive order. All the same information as here, and said, now let's bring it to the floor and let's vote on it so that Donald Trump can really do it with the actual power of the purse and the actual approval from Congress. It's going to be a law, not an executive order, that he did the same thing on the first administration and it was struck down by the courts. So he knows he just can't do that because it was struck down by the courts the first time, right? So as soon as Ro Khanna put that in a bill and said, okay, let's bring it to the floor, every single Republican said no. They opposed it. Why? Because they think you are a fool. It was always a scam. It's all about the narrative. Just announce something, just indict them, just say that we're investigating, just say that we're doing it, fake it until you make it. And they just fall. They just fall so easily, man. So easily. That's why, I'm here. I'm here to help you guys open your eyes finally because, I don't even know how they're writing in the chat right now because their eyes are 100% closed. They can't see. And I'm here. God sent me. I'm your messenger to rescue you, to save you, to open your eyes. So I'm sending you a hug. Please don't hate me. I see a lot of hate in the comments right now. Don't hate me. I'm here to help you, to set you free. Okay? So I'm going to leave you with that. My name is Daniel Aranzamendi, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate all the support. I appreciate all the debates, all the discussion, and so on. But I have to go. I have some other stuff to do now. I have to get prepared for my Spanish channel to do some stuff. And yeah, that's it. So take care. I'll catch you on the next episode, okay?